My next guest was a shareholder of United Health last year. I want to bring in Belpointe Chief Strategist David Nelson. David, I want to lean on you're not in the stock right now.
No, I'm not. I sold it about a year ago.
Was there any inkling that any of this stuff was going on?
Nothing like this, but it was actually talking to some people that work in the hospital industry, telling me some things about the company, made me very uncomfortable, and so we exited.
Yeah, it's interesting. You probably would have found out on Reddit or something through consumers that, just people feel like this is a very unsavory company to begin with.
It is.
Yeah, but bottom fishing, because you saw there were a lot of firms who had a buy on it. HSBC is not a powerful firm when it comes to ratings, but because it's a rare sell on this name, it's taking another hit. You're an investor. You look for opportunities. Opportunities are created when stocks get oversold, but how do you know when to pull the trigger?
The insider buying was pretty attractive to me. I noticed that, but it obviously has a lot of hair on it. And when you see the word fraud, you really never know what's really coming. Most times, I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be the first guy in there. I will probably, if I get into a name like this, it'll probably be at higher prices, but I'm going to have some level of confidence that the worst is behind it.
You need to see a couple of earnings reports, maybe just
I don't know if it's
a clear bill. In this case, it would be a clear bill of health.
The investigation has been completed and it's been resolved. It'll be 25-30% higher at that point, but it'll be a lot safer.
It's always been my experience that when a company has a major misstep, it takes more than a year to fix it.
It does. It sometimes takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. And so when I see people rushing to buy the bottom automatically, and listen.
And when they're lowering the target, that's a red flag as well.
Right. Good stuff. Let's talk about the broad market, right? Sure. Because you do think that the bottom is in, at least you did before today. But you pointed to some catalysts, right? Tariff delays, Besant's meeting with his Chinese counterpart, that huge visit from Trump in the Middle East, which had an amazing vibe. Every time Trump came on TV during that Trump tour, the market went up.
He's America's salesman, and there was a lot of good news in that. And that's the good news, but now 23% higher, from the lows.
Right.
We're back up against valuation levels, and you had a failed auction today in the bond market, and that's really going to be the arbiter of what takes place over the next weeks and months.
What about this? Because many consider it a yellow or red flag. Earning estimates are coming down, earnings growth is slowing down, but the market is going up. So going at opposite directions, is there a point where you say one of these things has got to switch? Or
I've actually been looking at the earnings estimates. They've kind of stabilized at this point. We need to see where the baseline tariff is. I think it's going to be lower than people expect. I think it's going to be somewhere around 10%. The market's pricing in around 14, 15.
I always thought it was going to be 10% for the world and about 40 to 50% for China. That's always been from the very beginning, that's what I thought.
We're in the early stages of decoupling with China. I don't see any way to resolve that.
So the theme for the day's show has been the comeback. America's comeback, stock market comeback, and of course, everybody who comes back needs to sort of reinvent themselves. And we're seeing that in technology to a degree, right? Tesla, many are saying, hey, don't even think about the EV anymore. That's not where the valuation comes from. Apple, with their phones, particularly in China, and Google now with this new services, because everyone's saying, hey, AI is eating your lunch.
I came in, to tell you that they were going through an existential moment, Google, and nobody was clicking on the blue links. But what I saw on the I.O. conference yesterday, what came out of that, the fact that they can take their model, their Gemini, and start to roll that across all their businesses, that's a home run for them, and that's why the stock is so strong today.
And you're buying it, right? You've been buying it.
I actually bought more shares this morning, and I was underweight. I had sold some about a month ago.
What about that sort of quiet move now that NVIDIA's making? I really like what NVIDIA's doing, because I don't feel like there's any sort of cheerleading happening, and it's happening on its own.
The bull market started with AI, and it's going to be driven by AI. We underestimate that. Right now, most portfolio managers are underweight all of the Mag 7, and this is a name that they're going to have to own. So if you're at a 2% weighting right now, even if you double that, it's still not enough.